Good afternoon, Emerald Park members. I hope you're doing well. As you saw from yesterday's email, I had a migraine over the weekend, which was horrible. And if you suffer from migraines, then I feel your pain. I did manage to cut my own hair though, and I think we can all agree that that looks tremendous. Needs must and all that. I want to talk to you today about the golf swing. And there's a couple of positions that I want to talk about in particular, because everyone swings the club differently, and we could get into a whole deep discussion about the golf swing. But there's two positions really. One is where we see the golf pros and certainly the PGA Tour players or European Tour players, where they get into as they're approaching impact. And then the other one is where we see most amateurs when we're giving lessons, and what are they doing that's different, and why are they doing it differently. So I will just quickly go through those. I'll try and keep it as basic as possible. And I will show you the PGA Tour or the pros position first, and then the amateurs position second. So let's quickly go through it. I have here a couple of blue alignment rods that are kind of set at the plane of the swing. Now what we mean by plane is what is the angle of this shaft at address. Now each club is slightly different. A driver roughly 45 degrees, sand wedge would be up kind of nearer 65 I suppose, but we want to be swinging the club kind of parallel to its starting point. So if it starts in this position, I want to be swinging it parallel to it. And then the other one really is this red alignment rod, which is running along my toe line, and that represents where my hands want to be, or looking at where they should be as they approach the ball into the downswing. So, as I get set up, now, forgetting just for a second the backswing, when we see tour players coming into the ball, they are very much parallel with this angle here, so parallel with the shaft plane that they were at address, and their hands are inside this toe line. So inside, in terms of our hand position, inside is this side, the outside is over here. So their hands are inside their toe line as they're about hip height, and the shaft is in this position, so matching the angle that it was at address. And then they're approaching the ball like this, turning into it, and then it's a case of can they square the club face up. So where do we see amateurs? Amateurs, pretty much the opposite. So when their hands are getting to hip height, they're over this side, they're on the outside, the shaft is much steeper, and the club face is invariably open as well, and they're either going to come across it like this and hit a big old slice, or if you've played a lot of golf and can change your body position, we'll start to see them kind of doing this. And all that is trying to do is match this position we were at address. But now my hands are much higher than where they started, and that brings on a whole load of other issues as well. So you probably ask yourself, well, why do amateurs get in that position? And I would say, for the most part, it's what we call the flow of the swing. So what's happened before that. Now you will get some amateurs who make a great backswing, as the tour players would do, and then they simply just move it over the top. And then, which in some ways, that's the easier thing to fix, because there's only one issue we've got to look at. We've just got to get the downswing sorted out. For most amateurs, is the backswing is the issue, which then leads into the downswing. It's what we call, it's the natural flow of the swing. So what are we looking for? Generally, we're looking for a swing that kind of works up the line of this blue rod here. So up like this, up to the top, and then back down. Think your Justin Rose, Rory McIlroy, Tiger Woods. It's a nice, simple action. Then you've got the other players like Bubba Watson and Jim Furyk, one in particular. It kind of looks a bit like an octopus. So the hands go much higher, the shaft gets very steep, but they then drop it into the right position. That's the natural flow of the swing. Amateurs tend to do the complete opposite. They will bring the club in here, they'll open the club face and bring it flat. They'll raise their hands up to the top of their backswing, and you will never see someone go back the other way, or very, very rarely. They'll continue to go this way, because that is the natural flow. They've got to the top of their backswing by going flat, raising their hands up, and then just continue to carry on going this way. As I said, it's the natural flow. So if you're someone who tends to do that, If you've got a mirror or a window or something you can see your reflection in, I would work on two things. One is what your hands are doing. You want them to go up steeper, and the back of your hand, your left hand, pointing out that way as much as you can, rather than rolling it and it's pointing straight up in the sky. So back of your hand pointing that way, and your hands going much more out and up, and then feel like they're dropping in. So without a club, can you just get that flow happening? So back of the hand pointing out that way, up to the top, then it comes back here and points to the sky. That will help with the shaft plane. If you have a club in your hand, hands go up, shaft is steep. As they go this way and down, the shaft gets flatter. That's what you're looking for. If you're going in here and your hand is pointing to the sky, back of your hand's pointing to the sky and up, and then you come this way and all of a sudden now it's pointing over there and the shaft is steep, you're in all sorts of bother, and you're going to have to make some pretty serious compensations to try and get the club on the back of the ball. I also said, don't get me wrong, you do get some players who make a great backswing and simply just go like this. You do get some anomalies in golf, and that's kind of the simple part to fix. When you get someone who brings it flat and loops it over the top, that's the difficult one, because in theory you then have two things to fix. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that this is the secret and you're going to start hitting it perfect. You will give yourself the best chance of hitting good shots. We obviously have to make sure that the club face is in the right position. Now we all know that tour players can hit it off the planet, and partly is because they're hitting it so hard, but also if this club face is slightly off in terms of it's pointing right or slightly left, then it will go miles offline. So we always have to get the club face in position as well, and we then have to therefore check your grip. But if you look at how they move the club, just look at the flow. So look at how they've reached the top of their backswing. They haven't gone under and raised the hands up. They've gone up to the top and back down again, almost on the same line. The best players, like your Justin Rose, the ones that are most consistent, are the ones that are doing the simplest motions. The ones that kind of go up steep, like your Jim Furyk's or Matt Wolf, who's a current player, up steep and drop it in. Yes, they will have fantastic rounds and they're proven winners, but if you looked at their career, it's like this, because that timing element of that is difficult to do unless you're hitting lots of golf balls. So, as I said, if you record your swing, just look at the natural motion of it. What is the flow of the swing? And try and, if you are someone who brings it in this way and over the top, you've got to try and do the opposite. And I would do it without a ball, nice and slowly, get the brain kind of comfortable with it, then build it into hitting shots, even if it's just a wedge to start with. I promise you that will help you no end. If you are someone who does go flat and loop it over the top and come down steep, you'll probably struggle to hit the ground initially, because whenever you start to go this way and get the club in a much better position, you'll struggle to hit the ground. But it will definitely help, and stick at it, because it will feel so strange. But let me know how it goes. If you have any further questions on it, because it's a lot to take in, maybe look at the video 2 or 3 times and let me know how you get on. If you want to send me a swing as well, you can do. As I said, that's free to do. I'm not charging anybody. We're all in this together, and I will have a look at the flow of your swing and give you some pointers on what you want to be trying to work on. But for now, I will catch you tomorrow. Enjoy the weather and stay safe.